I really think that it's time to think differently than just, storing a bunch of stuff, having defense, and holding up. I think it needs to be a nimble system. So I recently watched the movie Homestead, and it's pivoted my perspective on being prepared and prepping, as well as I realized while watching the film that I spent a weekend, 4 days, up on that mountain at that site, going through a lot of different survival type skills and things. Down in 2007, I did that. I'm going to share that experience because it was pretty great. Same owner, same guy, Jason Reed. That's his pen name. Is actually Jason Orvis. Wonderful, great guy. Spent 4 days up there on his mountain there doing a lot of different things. It was crazy. So, but back to Homestead, it's really got me changing my perspective on how I think about preparing. So I thought I'd discuss my 3 areas of prepping that I've designed, and then wondering if you all can help me pivot some of my perspective on it, because I really think that it's time to think differently than just, storing a bunch of stuff, having defense, and holding up. I think it needs to be a nimble system, a system that it can be modified as the situation evolves. So first, let me tell you about my time on the Homestead Mountain. It was actually a paintball event, and I went there because Jason Reed ran a company called Special Ops Paintball, and we did an elite weekend up there, and it was awesome. And he's the real deal. Like, he's got this mountain, and we had a challenge course, op 4 course. If you've watched the movie The Laser course, I think that was the same one that I played on when I was up there. But even a zip line, like a zip line chair where you were actually shooting targets as you zip lined across the canyon. Pretty amazing, as well as a full rifle range. We got to shoot whatever we wanted to. I picked an MP5 full auto. It was pretty sweet. So real deal. He sold all his companies, and then started building that homestead setup, as well as doing a lot of charity work in Africa and such. But then became a writer, wrote this book that they adapted into the movie Homestead. So if you haven't seen Homestead, I won't do a lot of spoilers here. I'll try not to. But the spirit of it is different than what you might think it is. So I do highly recommend that you go see that movie. So what have I done? Where am I at right now, and where do I want to pivot from it? So I think I should explain first off, I love the outdoors, right? So I've been camping and doing all that stuff my entire life. And it's grown from being a backpacker, avid backpacker, hence the Hiker J name, to camping, now to overlanding. So I have an overlanding rig. Love overlanding stuff. It's a little too obvious for prepping, for bugging out. That's where I'm trying to figure that piece out. But love the whole overlanding because it's fully off grid. You can sustain yourself out in the wilderness for quite a long time with different solar power systems, charging off the car battery, those types of things. So I really like that as a way to hone my prepping skills, right? So of course I've got storage goods. I've got things stored. I'm starting to develop a wilderness garden, I guess you'd say. I have 7 acres and been starting to put on some fruit plants, blueberries, stuff like that. This year I'm putting some hardwoods, like some black oak or black walnut trees up, stuff like that, just to start to get a little bit of a harvesting going on. Jerusalem artichokes, I really want to have a couple. There's no reason why you shouldn't, if you've got some land, you just don't have a bunch of those growing. Learned about them last year, never really had the time to put them in the property, but it's going to become a focus of this channel too. I'll walk you through that forest garden that I'm starting to develop as well. Have the pond dug out, going to use that as an irrigation system and such too. So I think property is really important when it comes to being prepared. That's my property local here where I am in Michigan, but we also have another site a couple hours north of here that is a little more prepared for a long time. It's back in the woods, has a well. There's a lot of things that would lend itself for a long time bug out. Kind of got systems on racks where if it does go really bad, we can throw it in the vehicle or in a trailer, boogie up there, and take some back roads and stuff. But we'll get more into that in the long run. And then of course, I've got my systems for generators for gas storage, solar power systems, solar power to run the furnace, all the different things, because I am in Michigan, so we lose power. So some of that perspective is, if things go bad, here's my 3 areas, right? One is hold up at home. This has multiple variables because it's might be just, hey man, bad winter storm, power's out. I got to go 2 to 7 days with no power, heat the house, feed the family. That I've got pretty dialed in. I feel pretty good about that. Though I'd love to have a wood burner inside the house, but I've got some systems to keep the house warm and things like that that rely on gas, which I don't know if you want to, or propane coming in, or a gas source coming in too. So I'm not sure that's the best. So I always worry about the heating side of things being in Michigan. Then number two is a remote location, going long distance and heading out and doing all that. And number three that I think about all the time is a defensive stance. My dad always talked about, being ready and prepared, and he taught us hunting and taught us to respect all those types of things. But you can also put up a good front first and avoid the problem. So I've got security setups that I feel like people would just see and say, I don't want to mess with that type of a way. I try to do more of a deterrent than actually go. And you've seen that down in North Carolina with the hurricane and the flooding that happened. There was a lot of things that happened in the first 5 or 6, and it was really interesting because I like to watch that and study and see what the problem was. And the problem was two things that I didn't think I had enough of was cash in $5 to $20 increments, and then a gas storage, because that was the number one thing. People were trying to run generators. Well, they go to this gas station, there's no power, they'll only take cash, and they were only letting people take 20 gallons at a time. So that was something I boosted up. I need to have some real cash on hand and also a better gas storage, just for a disaster that happens there. But when it comes to security, what I realize is that people automatically started putting their stuff on their hip and making it exposed or on a sling and walking around, and that just sort of settled things down from looting or whatever might be that thing. So I think a presence is really important. Which is fascinating when you watch Homestead is that you really think about, there was two different perspectives in there. Of course, he had, I don't think I'm ruining anything for anybody here on the spoilers, but had special forces people with military experience like there to do security on perimeter and hold and everything, and well trained. And that was a perspective that was needed, and I do think that it is needed, but it needs to be done in a checked stance. Just having it there, I think, helps people stay away. And how they approached it, how it wasn't, you always think that that's the number one thing you watch Walking Dead, and human beings are just nasty to each other, but people can be a lot, kinder. And when you look at North Carolina situation, a lot of people came together to help each other, and those are the people I'm going to be focusing on, getting up close to and everything. My neighbors and such, I always, give off generator power to my neighbors when there's power and all those things, because those relationships are important. So those are the three things that I'm really looking at. I want your perspective on that. So I've got my hold at home, got food storage, power, gas, and all that type of stuff for situations maybe a week or two long, and all the drone stuff that's going on. Who knows what's happening with grid down and EMPs, whatever. So just about a week long holding at home. Then there's like, hey man, I'm kind of in a township close to people and stuff. Maybe things get bad and I need to bug out and I need to go. Now with that setup, what I've got is a couple racks set, and they're all our preserve stuff, our power, and all the different stuff. Those can easily just be at two young boys, or young men. They can easily fill that in a trailer really fast, and we can boogie on out of here. And I think accessibility is big. Sometimes people like store stuff up, but like it's here, it's there, it's whatever. I've got it on 2 racks, man. 2 racks. We take that and we're good for quite a while. And our site up northern Michigan is in the woods, wood burner stove. Uh, well water, so I can run it off of solar powered systems and stuff like that. So have a more of a, but that is more of a family property, so there will be more people converging on there. So I'm not sure we're perfectly ready for the food side of things, though there's a huge harvest of deer that walk through and all that type of stuff. So some things can be done there. And then I'm also, if we're holding in town here, I've got my, food forest too. So I'm going to start jamming and, jarring and doing all that stuff with the peaches and different things there. And then the defensive stance. What do you think about my defensive stance? Is that the way to go? Be more of a visual presence than actually coming in hard, like full on armored up and everything. So those are my two areas that I've been thinking about, but the movie has really made me change my perspective on a couple of those, and I wanted to get your perspective on it, especially the series. So Angel Studios made this film, but Jason Reed, who's the writer and the producer and everything, has this other series in there. You have to pay for a subscription, but what it is it's I think it's Family Survival, and that's been really good because I like it a lot in that it tells you about gardening, how to preserve things through winter, different ideas of how to be prepared. E-bikes, off-road. I'm definitely getting to e-biking. I really taught myself. I've always known how to fish. I got into fishing last year. They talk about all these different things for like family survival, and that is a good series. I've really enjoyed that. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out. So I'm going to wrap this up. I definitely want your thoughts on how you think the world of like being prepared and what's too far, what's not enough. If you can think of any things I should add to mine, let me know. This was kind of fun to just sit down and talk. I've just thought about this movie a lot. So I'll be talking about some other things in these sit downs like this too. I'll talk more about my property and the food forest that I want to develop there. I'll take you on site and all that stuff. So till then, just remember, life's a hike. So hike happy and always be prepared.